Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a book review, and that book is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. So grab your beverage of choice and let's get into it. So let's get started. The book I am going to be talking about today is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. Now this is the second in the Shepherd King Duology. The first book was One Dark Window, read that a couple of months ago. So we're on to the second, Two Twisted Crowns. So this is a Gothic Romantasy, and I have a little synopsis for you that I have taken the time to type up, and I'm just going to read it so I don't mess it up. So the synopsis is, in the sequel to One Dark Window, we return to Blunder, a town plagued by a mist that causes infection but grants strange magic. Providence cards are the main currency, and if the final card is found and all 12 are united as a deck, the mist will lift and the infected can be cured. But as with all magic, it comes at a cost. Honestly, I'm getting so proud of my little synopsis because I think they're just very concise and don't give too much away, because sometimes synopses give too much away and I don't like that. So anyway, let's get into the themes in this book. The main themes are magic, romance, greed, and power. So I'm just going to dive straight on into my likes with this book. So my first really big like in this book is I loved that we got to learn more about the magic system and specifically the Providence cards. I think the magic system in these books is really, really interesting and unique, and I honestly can't think of anything that I've ever read that's similar to it, and that's quite impressive, I think. Because the system is basically there are these cards, and as I said in the synopsis, the cards are like the currency. Everyone wants all these different cards. They all do different things. They kind of remind me, in my head I was picturing like really fancy tarot cards. They're all like lined with velvet and they have different symbols on them. So you've got like the Nightmare, which is one of our main characters in this as well. The Nightmare, the Well, the Chalice, the Maiden, the Iron Gate. I'm trying to think of the ones that I remember. So you've got lots of different cards. They all do different things. So if I was to have the Maiden, for example, if I was to use the Maiden, then I could keep myself looking young and beautiful and blemish free for eternity. Wow, that's the dream. That's the card I'd want. However, all magic comes with a cost. So we dive deeper into the Maiden specifically in this book because one of the main characters is using it, but as well as keeping her looking beautiful and perfect and blemish free and desirable, it also basically like suppresses all her emotion, so she can't feel much and she can't like convey a lot of emotion. So every single card has a price that it demands for its use. So I just think it's a really, really interesting system, and I love getting to know more about it in this book. Another like for me is the character of the Nightmare in general. So the Nightmare is also one of the cards, but the Nightmare is kind of the name that we give the Shepherd King, who is a 500-year dead king that has, I guess you could say, reincarnated and lives in our main character Elspeth's mind. So he is like your typical anti-hero. He is fatally flawed. He is very morally grey. He has made some bad choices in his life when he was alive. However, you can't help but root for him. And in this book, again, we discover that him and Elspeth have this really interesting connection. And I just really enjoy his character. He's very, very entertaining, as most anti-heroes are. So another big like in this book is the spice. Rachel Gillig knows how to write a spicy scene. They are chef's kiss, perfection, written for the female gaze. And what I love about it is not the scenes, the actual when it's happening is great, but it's the anticipation leading up to it. She definitely just gets you in the mood, let's just say. And I really enjoyed that. I don't read a lot of books like that. So when I do read stuff like that, I want it to be done well. I don't want it to be cringe or embarrassing or make me feel weird. You know what I mean? I want it to be good. And it is good in these books, let me just tell you. But I also really like that romance is not the central plot. It is definitely like one of the central themes, and it is there and it's woven throughout the whole book, or both of the books. But in this book in particular, there's definitely plenty of action and suspense and mystery and intrigue to keep you going. It's not just about the romance. And I really like that because romance for me as a central plot is just not enough. I just don't find it, like, it just doesn't grab me enough. I need something more. And I also find what generally puts me off books like this is because I find that the magic system and the world building and the plot is really an afterthought to the romance. And I actually don't feel like that with these books at all. I think they're really, really well written. And yes, romance is a strong theme, but it's not to the expense of the world building and the magic system and the plot. So, love that. So in terms of dislikes, I mean, I really struggled to think of a dislike. I honestly couldn't really, but there is one minor improvement that I would make. I would have loved to have a little key of all the Providence cards and what they do and like maybe what their cost is. But even just what they do would be great. Because there's 12 of them, so sometimes going through the book it was getting hard to keep track of what each one did. So like for example they would say such and such used the well card and I'd be like, oh, what does that one do again? So it'd be nice to have a little key to refer to. And I was actually thinking I honestly might just like message the author and be like, you should make like a Shepherd King handbook and have like really amazing like drawings of each card and depictions of like descriptions of what that card does. I think people would absolutely eat that up, and I personally would like to buy it as a little maybe collector's item. I just think that'd be really helpful. So that is my one minor improvement I would give to this book. But I think you can tell from this review, I am giving this book a solid 5 stars. I think I gave One Dark Window 4 stars, or maybe 4.5. There were little elements of it I didn't quite gel with, and little things that I found a little bit cringe and a little bit of repetition in terms of the language. I didn't find that as much, thankfully, in Two Twisted Crowns, so I definitely preferred this book. But I think it's hard when you're the first book in a duology or a series that is fantasy because you have a lot to do. You've got to set up the magic system, introduce us to the characters, let us know what's going on, and do a lot of world building. So I do feel like that is what this book was, and that's fine. And I think it really just like launched us into this second book, and this second book was much more action packed and like fast paced. And although it's, well, I say it's quite long, it's over 400 pages. To me, that's quite long. I never felt bored. I always felt like I was wanting to know what was going on, and I really, really enjoyed it. I am really thankful to my best friend Sinead. She actually book faired me this book because this duology is like her favourite of all time at this point. So she book faired me One Dark Window. I honestly probably wouldn't have picked it up had it not been for her strong recommendation and actually physically sending me the book. But I'm really glad she did because it has opened my eyes to, you know what, some romantasy can be really, really good, and I would definitely read whatever Rachel Gillig puts out next. I'd be intrigued to read that. So yeah, I think that is everything I have to say. Let me know in the comments if you've read these books, what you think, or if you're interested in reading them after hearing me talk about them. As always, thank you so much for watching, and as they say in Two Twisted Crowns, be wary, be clever, be good. Bye!